Hello everyone and welcome back to the Nulyweds channel. Today we are talking to Kate from the Destination Wedding Co. all about getting married in Croatia. I've never been to Croatia, so I've learned so much about it in this conversation and you don't want to miss it. As always, I've split this video up into sections, so you're welcome to jump ahead, concentrate on the areas that most interest you, but I hope that you stayed for the entire conversation because it was really interesting. All of the details for Kate will be in the description box down below and pinned to the top comment. If you want to check out the other videos in the series, we have been to Scotland, we have been to Spain, we have been to Puglia in Italy, so do check out the playlist link that is in the description box down below as well. Let's get into it. So we are joined today by the lovely, wonderful, kind and gentle Kate from Destination Wedding Co. Thank you so much for coming onto the channel.
Thank you so much for asking me, Olivia. It's great to be here.
So we are talking about Croatia today. I've invited Kate to talk about the Adriatics because that is one of her specialisms in this world. Tell us a little bit about your company, tell us a bit about you, and tell us a little bit about why Croatia.
Well, thank you for the introduction. So yes, I'm Kate from the Destination Wedding Co. My company is for all of European countries. I don't put a limit on that. I'm a UK-based planner, so most of my clients tend to be from the UK, sometimes the US and Australia as well. Main specialties are Italy, France, Croatia, Slovenia and Greece. Mainly Mediterranean countries. I love being in the sunshine.
Oh, lovely. That sounds wonderful. So we are focusing most on Croatia today in today's conversation. And I have never been to Croatia before. I have seen some photos, so I'm going to learn a lot today. So tell us why you would recommend getting married in Croatia.
Croatia as a destination, I always feel like it's a little bit unexpected for guests. And for the couple who might have visited there on holiday before, they might be returning, or it might be a fresh location for them. But that unexpected and sort of defying expectations, when you're invited to a destination wedding in Italy, France, Greece, you might already have those expectations. With Croatia, it's interesting to find something new. So that freshness for guests is always like the first thing I think is a real plus. And Croatia is just this hidden gem. It is a beautiful, varied country in terms of its different landscapes. From the mainland, which has loads of lakes and national parks, incredible waterfalls, mountainous, beautiful, sort of luscious green country. It's beautiful. Then going on to its coast, the stonework and wild coastlines are just unbelievable. And it's peppered with islands from the top all the way down to the bottom of the two main cities there, which are Dubrovnik and Split. So you've got city possibilities there, and then the islands and the coastlines are just incredible.
Wonderful. It sounds really cool. Sounds like a landscape that's right up my alley, actually, because I love green, rocky coasts and things like that. Tell me about the cuisine. I know nothing about Croatian food. Tell me about the cuisine.
It's very typical of what you'd imagine if you're on an island, for example. Fish is, fish stews is a big thing as well in the sort of autumn months. They love that. So seafood is a big one on the coastline. They also do really amazing like dried and cured hams. And the dish of what I would sort of always go to and think of in Croatia is the black risotto that they have.
Wow, that sounds amazing. Love a good risotto. It sounds fabulous.
And the wines there are amazing as well. The local wines are really excellent.
Oh, really? That's really interesting. Yeah. I've not heard that before. That sounds, oh gosh, that's worth exploring.
Yeah, plenty
worth
to explore, like you say.
But we like to be a bit salacious on this channel, and especially in this series. So I would love to know, what are the kind of drawbacks of getting married in Croatia?
I love this question of it, and that's my approach, is to be honest and candid with my couples, and just in general, just to make sure that everybody is getting what they want and making sure it's right for them. So I would say with Croatia, it's not the polished article. It's very much like its wild coastlines. It's may not always have that 5-star luxury that if that's what guest expectations are. So they really need to interrogate, the couple needs to interrogate if that's what they want. And they'll have to do a little bit more searching with a planner or themselves to be able to find those locations where and those venues which can offer that higher level of quality service. However, if guests and the couple are happy with that more raw, authentic experience of a place and want to enjoy that to its fullest, great. I think another thing to be really aware of is that it doesn't have many beaches. It does in terms of swimming off points, and you can enjoy the coastline, but it's my top tip would be to take some shoes that you can swim in as well, because it's not a sandy golden beaches. They are rocky, rocky and wild.
Crazy. I mean, that's my thing anyway.
Yeah.
Would rather not soft sandy beach, so that's not a con for me, but I appreciate that it can be a con for many people. So thank you for that. I really appreciate your honesty there. So let's talk about the weather then. Let's talk about the climate. I know nothing of the climate in Croatia. I have a vague idea of what it could be like, but when would you suggest going to get married in Croatia?
Like its counterpart of the Mediterranean, Adriatic does get incredibly hot in the summer months, and July and August are incredibly hot, and you can sort of feel a little bit like Greece in that time. So my recommended times to get married there is May and June, and also September as well, and into early October even as well. You can really still get some beautiful weather into that early part of October. Not only for the weather, but two things really to think about that is the tourism levels. In July and August, particularly in Dubrovnik and Split, it does get incredibly busy with tourism. So to ensure that you've got lovely wedding photographs that might not have loads of tourists in the background and things like that, and I suppose getting better rates with accommodation and other things, if you're wanting to extend the holiday, I would recommend those months either side of July and August. Also thinking about that is your ceremony time. If you were to get married in the July and August, you really have to put that ceremony time a little bit later on in the day, which is great, and it's accustomed to with destination weddings. But having that heat of the day, you don't want your guests to be crispy before you even walk down the aisle. So having that earlier part of the summer, or into sort of the Indian summer time as well, really does mean that you can have it a little bit earlier and extend the day.
Wonderful. No, that sounds really good. It sounds like you've got some decent sunshine, some decent weather for quite some time in Croatia, which is good. We love to see that. Is it particularly dry country?
It is, yeah. So something that is really the first thing I think of when I think of Croatia is the stone, so the limestone, which not only on its coastlines, but in the city, all of the buildings and architecture are made up of this beautiful limestone, it's like creamy to touch. It's so soft, and one of my favorite things, just sitting on like the bays, which are in the jetties, which all are out of this stone, and the heat that just soaks up from this stonework. It's just, I can think of it now, just sat there. It's beautiful, and the waves crashing. So that dryness is there, particularly in the mainland, and in the cities as well. But having that windswept coastlines means that you can still feel a little bit cool. There's definitely chances of rain sort of earlier on in May, I would say, and that sort of as you're going into October, there's definitely chances of that. And that's something to be aware of, is with the stone, is it can be really slippy. So that's something to be aware of.
Okay, all right, fair enough. I'm going to give you a scenario then. I do this to everyone. Let's say we have a couple who are from Canada. They're from Canada, they're bringing 50 guests, and they're getting married in June. what would you say would be a good ballpark for them to think of for their budget?
I tend to think of budgets in a minimum and a comfortable range. So a minimum as like the bare bones, you could do it, and it would be, squeezing everybody for what they can, and it's possible. I'd say a minimum for that amount of guests would be 15,000 euros is kuna in Croatia, but to keep things simple, I'll speak in euros. A comfortable, and I would say an average for that many guests in that time, and what my couples tend to spend would be about 25,000 euros as a really comfortable, and they're really being able to host their guests in the best way possible. And when you've got guests traveling from Canada and internationally, you really want to host them in the best way possible.
Okay, no, that sounds good. So for a wedding that's kind of in your style, we would be looking at around 25,000 euros. That sounds fair, all good. So let's stick with our fantasy couple. They are Canadian, as I said. What if they wanted to legally register to marry in Croatia? Is that a simple process? Do you even recommend it? Would you say that people should bother? What do you think?
So it's possible, and like in many European countries, we always say it's possible. There's some that you definitely can't. But Italy being a comparable, and Greece as another comparable, you can get married there, and it is possible. What I do preface that with is that there's a few hoops to jump through, and therefore more costs involved. And it does mean that you're limited in terms of location. So there's only so many places that the Matikar, which is the municipals in Croatia, legally have that legally bound registry available in certain locations. So I would always recommend a symbolic ceremony in order to allow that complete flexibility. You want to get married on top of a mountain overlooking the coast, that's the ideal really, and having that flexibility to have it symbolic is the preference. However, if that's of real importance to them, it can happen, and we, as I say, it's just to be aware of the hoops to jump through.
Yeah, no, it seems like an overarching theme, particularly in Europe, that there are many hoops and paperwork and silliness, and just don't do it. Can we just say that? Just don't do it. Just do symbolic ceremonies are so much nicer. Even if you have a church ceremony, often you can do the legal bits at home still, and you can still have a symbolic wedding under the eyes of the Lord in a church. You can still do that. Exactly. So it seems to be a running theme. I hope that everyone is picking up on this.
It takes the pressure off, doesn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. I just think it's such a headache for so many people to do that, and I don't want, particularly when we're doing this series, or something that's been interesting, that this is a sort of block, but I don't want anyone to not get married somewhere because they can't, or it's more difficult to do the legal registration, right? Because we have so much variety, there's so many beautiful places in the world to get married. You don't need to sign the paperwork there for it to be a valid wedding. So we love to know about the cool venues and cool places to check out. So let's talk about the venues in Croatia. Paint me a picture of what we can expect of the wedding venues in Croatia.
Right, so there is quite a range, I would say, in terms of that landscape and that environment. So that is something that I would interrogate first with the couple, is what do they see in that spot where they want to get married? What does it look like? What does it feel like? What's surrounding them? And then all of those linking questions of going into the reception and dinner and all of that flow. So there's quite a few resorts that are available, but in a more luxury fashion. So if you're wanting that higher quality of hospitality and level of service, some of the resorts in the north are really great. So in Istria, which is the peninsula that comes out right in the top of the north part, you can be in Slovenia into Italy within an hour from there. It's a great little spot really in terms of accessibility. to other parts of Europe for guests to extend their trip. Oh, I could wax lyrical about its position, because I think it's great. So there's really 3 amazing venues there in terms of that sort of luxury element. On the other side, there is another venue which I suppose is a little bit more Italian vibes, in that it's a villa and it's exclusive, and that's really where everybody would be focused on, in that centre of the wedding. So that 50 guests, for example, could all stay there, and that would be your hub for 3 or 4 days at least. So there's, as I say, there's the San Cassian and then the Menghetti resorts, and then Villa Santa Maria is the Italian style, I would say, very loosely, villa exclusive, where it would just be you and your guests. So there's a few up there in the north that I would recommend. Going down the coast and then going on to the islands, there's so much possibility there. So you'd fly into Split, and from there are hundreds and thousands of islands to explore. I have a few favourites on there. So Salta is a really tiny like port. There's hardly anything there. So again, it's something that I would recommend, if you have a yacht or a boat, or you need that accessibility. There's a beautiful hotel that also has this amazing restaurant that overlooks all of the bay, the Martini's Marchi. Amazing venue there, and it is just the tiniest little bay, so it's really quite focused in and around the wedding. Looking for a wedding where they want guests to have a little bit more flexibility, they can go off and do their own thing, and the island of Viz would be my recommendation. It's a little bit larger, and there's more things to do, more restaurants. I mean, typical laid back coastal life, don't get me wrong, but there's just a few more things for guests to do, and the venue of Fort George is better for larger weddings in that sense as well, so that works quite well.
Wow, so many cool options, so many fantastic places to explore. It seems like there's so many reasons to explore Croatia as an option, even though it's not the most obvious of options, as you said. So I want to thank you so much for coming onto the channel and talking to us about Croatia. There are so many places to explore, so much going for it seems. So I really hope that it was helpful to everyone who was watching. Where can people find you if they want to get married in Croatia, or any of the places that you operate?
So firstly is probably my website, so www.thedestinationwedding.co. I'm also at The Destination Wedding Co on Instagram, Facebook, and Pinterest as well. So Instagram probably is the best one for me there. And I really look forward to helping a couple with finding the perfect venue for them in Croatia.
So we will leave all of those links in the description box down below and pinned to the top comment. So I want to thank you again so much for coming onto this channel. It's always a pleasure to chat with you. I hope everyone watching found this interesting, and if you have any questions for Caitlin, do head over to her Instagram and ask away. But for now, I will love you and leave you, and I will see you again soon. Take care.